Hello, this is Teen Stock Politics, and we're back again for a 9/11 special. This will be coming out exactly when the first tower was hit at, I believe, 8:46 on Saturday. This will be September 11th, which in 2021 falls on a Saturday, which is going to be a day after we record this episode. However,
hmm
we're going to be talking about the connections of how relevant this terrorist attack still is in our American politics and really how it's been used by either party to really deflect arguments and also make their party look better. Of course, this is a horrible act. I was not alive for it. However, the amount of documentaries I've seen really show you what's really happened on that day. And any party, regardless of whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrat Party that's using this for political gain, I think it hurts a lot more than it helps anybody. And I think the first major thing we're going to be talking about this is how this really has had a big connection to what's happening in Afghanistan right now. Only a few weeks ago, America started moving out of Afghanistan, removing all troops, and only a few days ago did we actually finish getting all troops out of Afghanistan. Of course, there were bombings, and the Taliban was able to take over Afghanistan very quickly in only, 2 weeks. And when something that quickly happens, it does shock everyone that wasn't expecting the Taliban to take over in such a limited amount of time. But if you think about it, would we have gone to Afghanistan if 9/11 had not happened? And the answer is no. And I think that's pretty obvious.
hmm
Osama bin Laden, the person that was orchestrating these attacks, was helping the Taliban, or what was ISIS at the time, in Afghanistan. And that's basically the reason we went to Afghanistan and tried to rescue their democracy that held for a little bit until the Taliban, of course, took over only weeks ago. And Sam, what major things do you see that really connect Afghanistan in the present day to what happened
hmm
back on September 11th in 2001?
I mean, we're still seeing these decisions that were made follow up to the like as you were saying. We're still seeing these decisions that were made to follow up to the 9/11 attacks, and that, as you're saying, were most likely would not have happened if there wasn't the feeling of terrorism, of a terrorist threat in the United States. Like as like this kind of fear, which Americans at the time didn't know. Um, Americans at the time didn't really know the magnitude of how much of a threat the Taliban and ISIS and Osama bin Laden were to America's democracy. Um, but all they knew was they had to get them back for it, and I feel like some could say this is impulsive, while others could say it would kind of be the obvious decision. Um, Either way, the United States wanted revenge, and we're just after 20 years since the 9/11 attacks. We're still beginning to see um, the still remnants of the attacks unfolding, as you're saying, with the recent Taliban takeover and U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's definitely been a very influential time. It was definitely a very influential time in America, and I feel like it's very important and plays a huge role in this modern military era.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out, I was watching the news this morning, and it was a little segment on CNN where they were interviewing, I believe it was the former Homeland Security Secretary under the Obama administration. He was basically saying, one, Homeland Security, that segment in the cabinet, that position did not exist before 9/11. It was created
No,
because of this terrorist act on the homeland, and that's where it gets the name from, the Homeland
and
Security.
the most if I'm not wrong, the newest cabinet.
Right.
No,
And
that's not
also,
true.
is it? I don't know. Check that.
I'll check.
But he also said that before 9/11, people did not have this fear of being killed in a terrorist act. Yes, the chances of you dying from a terrorist act are so low, but from the mass network coverage that these terrorist acts get, yes, it does scare the public, and it continually will, as far as we're aware.
Yep, it was
When
Homeland Security.
it is okay,
Yeah.
well, when you have these once every now and then where you have a terrorist attack, whether it happens in 9/11 with the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, or if you have anything like that, yes, it's going to show up in the news a lot and it's going to scare the public. And it was basically saying Americans now lose sleep over this sometimes, just thinking of all the horrible things that ISIS has done, at least on that day on September 11th. And there was a
Yeah, and I think
documentary on, I think it was National Geographic, where they were going through Osama bin Laden right before he died on his hard drive that he left out at his base, basically where he was hiding out before he was killed. And it was saying how he didn't think that the crisis that was happening in New York City back when the planes hit the two towers, killing thousands of people, and when the plane hit the Pentagon on the same day, he did not think that was enough. He thought it was a starting point, but he did not think that was enough. We do not know exactly what his plans were uh, aside from 9/11 and the terrorist acts that he orchestrated. However, that was basically his warm up. What happened on 9/11 was his warm up of what was to come. Happily, he was basically marked as the most wanted man on the planet for a
mhm.
extended period of time, and he didn't have enough supporters. His bodyguards, Osama bin Laden's bodyguards at his base, basically turned on him and decided, I'm not going to be killed when he's found out to be living in a hut on, I don't remember what country it was. I'm assuming it was
Oh, it
Afghanistan.
was
It might
not
have
a
been.
hut. It was
It was like a fortified base,
it
but
it was
yes, it
a
was.
fortified safe house. In
However,
Palestine, I believe.
was it Palestine? But it was similar to a hut because of the few rooms it had.
Hmm.
But yes, it was fortified, and
He was killed in Pakistan.
he was
Sorry,
killed
the
in
P
Pakistan.
countries get me mixed up. I'm sorry. Palestine. I don't know why it was
And yes,
Palestine.
his bodyguards turned on him, and that was because they did not want to be killed when Osama bin Laden would have been killed, because it was only a matter of time. Because you're thinking he's the most wanted man on the planet. How long is it going to take? And because of
Hmm.
these reasons, he wasn't able to orchestrate more horrific acts besides 9/11. Yes, he killed thousands and thousands of people. He enjoyed violence. He was involved in the Afghanistan war. Many wars in the Middle East he was involved in. And he wasn't able to do all he wanted. He wanted to do damage to the West, and that's what he accomplished. He's able to scare hundreds and thousands and millions of Americans to fear the terrorists, to fear ISIS, to fear certain groups in the Middle East. And he was able to do that just off of hijacking planes to go towards the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and possibly either the Capitol building or the White House. We don't know, but we're pretty sure it was the Capitol building. Because if you think about it, it wouldn't make much sense for it to be the White House because Bush was out in a school in, I believe, Florida when he heard
Hmm.
about the attacks.
Bush was on tour.
He was on tour. I think it was an education bill or something. I don't really remember, but he was in a classroom when he found out that the second tower was hit by a plane.
Hmm.
And you just have to think about what would have happened if the Capitol building had been hit.
The
Things would be much different, lot different
if the
to how it is
Capitol
today.
building, yeah, if I could project something, if the Capitol building was hit, unlike the Pentagon and the World Trade Center, the World Trade Center and the Pentagon are just were just targets. Were just targets that would render the United States unable to strike back for at least a while, which they accomplished. The United States was not able to strike back until almost a year um, after the 9/11 attacks. Um, and but I feel like if they were able to destroy the the sorry, if they were able to destroy the Capitol building, then a lot of things would be different. Millions of not millions, thousands of staffers would be dead, if not killed. The government would be in complete disarray, which could lead to some extreme power grabs, and it would have been a lot worse for everyone involved. And the
Yeah,
government would
and
not really be able to
the
function
state of
for a
the
long
state of
time.
the United States democracy would probably not have recovered for a very long, extensive amount of time, where we might not have recovered 20 years later, where you have that many
Hmm.
lawmakers that would have been killed had that plane crashed. You really have to think of what would have happened. What would America be doing in that situation? Because so many high ranking officials were in the Capitol building, whether it's the
Hmm.
Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader. You have so many people that were in the Capitol at that time. It it would be it would be very bad, and that's an understatement of what would have happened had the planes hit, as they would have been expected to by Osama bin Laden that wanted them to hit the Capitol building. And another thing that we want to touch on
Hmm.
is really how you can clarify terrorists as ISIS that attack other nations basically to cause violence. And we are trying to
Hmm.
get across the point that what happened on January 6th, which was another major basically attack on our democracy, similar to how 9/11 was handled. However, these were by domestic terrorists, people that were born in America, raised in America,
Hmm.
people that attacked their own government, not Islamic folk that were part of ISIS that attacked America, that weren't born in America, people that were actually raised and born in America that are supposed to be following the Constitution. They say while they're attacking the Capitol, "Oh, we're just following the Constitution. We're making sure these lawmakers follow the Constitution," when they've never read the Constitution or care to read the Constitution. And for people to immediately say, "Okay, ISIS is awful. It killed thousands of people," which is true, but then go say, "Oh, the people that were in the Capitol were patriots. The people in Capitol
Hmm.
weren't actually trying to do any harm. That was an attempted
Yeah.
coup."
Yep. The outcome, if as we were talking about earlier, the outcome of um an insurrection or uh murder of a government in would be have very similar results of a coup, a conservative coup to take over, or complete government shutdown for a long time. Um, they would have similar results, and so you can't deny that, as you were saying, these people are not patriots. They are self-absorbed people who pose a threat to the United States democracy.
And you're right. They did pose this major threat to democracy, as did terrorists on 9/11. Am I wrong? Because these
No,
these
you're
domestic terrorists that were going into and infiltrating the Capitol building were really trying to, as they said, they were chanting in the Capitol, they wanted to hang Mike Pence or F Pelosi, or whatever mess they were putting up and saying in the Capitol. They wanted to kill many lawmakers, especially high ranking officials, where so many people were
yeah.
at risk of being killed. You have senators like Ron Johnson saying no guns were recovered in the Capitol, which is true. However, there are reports that many of the rioters were armed, whether it was with
Hmm.
a handgun or with it was a flagpole that could have knocked someone out, possibly killed them. So when people like Ron Johnson, senator of Wisconsin, say things like this, people that were actually at the Capitol in front of danger. Yes, Ron Johnson was at the Capitol. However, when you have your own supporters infiltrating the Capitol, you must not be at much of a risk when they're supporting you. Yes, it was Trump supporters. However, Ron Johnson is a close supporter of Trump. So would they have attacked him? Probably not. People like Nancy Pelosi that are strongly against the former president, do you think they would have probably hurt her or killed her? The answer is probably yes. So someone like that would have been at much higher risk of danger than someone like Ron Johnson, someone like Ted Cruz, someone like Josh Hawley, and then
Hmm.
also the Capitol Police officers were in a very similar situation, which I don't like to compare these things, but as firefighters in 9/11, yes, firefighters, yes, they would
Hmm.
probably at a higher degree of danger. You're in a building that is going to later on collapse. They didn't know that at the time. However, they were risking their lives because they did not know what was going to happen. Yes, it was their job, but they
Yep.
could have just bailed, and they didn't. They went in the Twin Towers, and hundreds of them died. I believe 7 people died at the Capitol. I don't know the exact number, but thousands of people died in the 9/11 attacks.
2000, 2,998 or
Is
89,
that
somewhere around there. Almost 3,000
is that including the Pentagon or just the Twin Towers?
during
All
9/11.
throughout 9/11. So yes, there's a big difference in um, deaths. However, the danger a lot of people were put in. Had January 6th gone any differently, had a lawmaker been shot while there were protesters in the
Hmm.
Capitol, had Mike Pence not summoned the National Guard, had things like this not have happened, things could have turned out a lot worse and very similar to what would have happened had the Capitol been hit by the plane on January 6th. Lawmakers would have been killed. That's one comparison you could make between 9/11, if the plane had hit, and also January 6th. Had the rioters been able to get safe rooms where the lawmakers were being held and held safely. And when you make comparisons like that, that's a harsh, very harsh to say. However, that would have happened because people were throwing flagpoles of the American flag at Capitol Police officers. They were crushing them in the door. Many lost fingers. They were throwing fire canisters at the police officers. Not canisters, fire extinguishers. Sorry, at at police officers. And if they were doing that to police officers when they're saying black the blue, black the back the blue, very it just shows you the hypocrisy in the Republican Party. However,
Hmm.
imagine those were lawmakers, did not have protective gear on, and did not have any ability to fight back, with no weapons other than what the guards in the chambers of Congress had on them. And you really just have to think what could have happened. This exact thing could have
Hmm.
happened on January 6th as it did, or it could have happened in 9/11 had the passengers
Hmm.
on that airplane not crashed in Pennsylvania, was it West Pennsylvania-ish, in rural Pennsylvania. And these are just hypotheticals that are very hard to think about, but you have to think about what state would the country be in at this point, and it's hard to do that. And I think another thing that we should be talking about is really about all the conspiracy theories that the Republican Party has really gone through. Don't worry, we'll tie this back up to the main point at the end. Because
Yeah.
January 6th, that was
Hmm.
founded on conspiracy theories, founded
Hmm.
on lies.
Conspiracy
Donald Trump did not win the election.
conspiracies. Biden
Right.
didn't win.
Trump did not win.
Conspiracies. Biden didn't win the election. Also, something to mention: these are started a lot by conservatives here in a desperate power grab. Not something that not something that people in their right mind, even like Mike Pence, would do.
Yeah.
These are started as a frivolous attempt to undermine the democracy in both ways, and also to get a power grab.
Yeah. Trump did not win the election. QAnon does not exist. I'm pretty confident Democrats are not blood sucking pedophiles. I'm pretty sure of that. These were all founded on conspiracy
Actually,
theories. In the same way that things like when the Obama administration was in charge of killing Osama bin Laden and were successful, many didn't believe them. And this is really the start of the conspiracy theory wing of the Republican Party just taking over. From then on, you have many white, granted racists, that are now in charge of the Republican Party. For example, Donald Trump, David Duke, who endorsed Donald Trump. You've had many Proud Boys that were at the Capitol. You've had Ku Klux Klan leaders that are openly endorsing many Republican candidates. QAnon, that's another big wing of the Republican Party, big conspiracy theory group that organized January 6th in some sort. We don't know exactly. They're still investigating. However, they were a big part of January 6th and how it ran and really how it went down that day. And it was all 9/11 really sparked the flame, especially when Obama was in charge of killing Osama bin Laden. And something Sam told me right before we started recording is while he was reading Obama's The Promised Land, the book he came out, I don't know how long ago, a year or 2 years ago, how it doesn't help when your Osama's first name, Obama's last name is just one letter off. Yes, it does make it kind of funny for some people to compare the two. However, it doesn't help you as a leader to have that mockery when it wasn't his fault. And a lot of these conspiracy theories are laid out in that way. Osama or Obama bin Laden, something along those lines. And this is really where conspiracy theories of the Republican Party took the front of what the Republican Party really represents now. The Republican Party is not what it used to be. The Republican Party is now basically founded on conspiracy theories. A big name, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've talked about her many times on this show. She believes in QAnon. She's denounced those views, but really, how hard is it going to be to denounce views that you think that you want to kill Nancy Pelosi, or how she said it was like a shot to the head, or that California forest fires were started by Jewish space lasers that identify as Jewish, that school shootings are faked, that mass shootings are faked. You have these insane things that big major leaders, she's not really a leader, but her voice is very loud compared to other members of the Republican Party, where many Republican voters look up to her. You have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene endorsing these QAnon beliefs. And this is what the Republican Party has turned into now. All because of these conspiracy theories that have led to this way. They're the party of fighting terrorism. I do not believe that is true. That's what they say. But is that true? Because as far as I'm aware, it's not. 9/11 was a terrible day. Yes, there was a Republican president at the time. And he responded very swiftly and putting troops in Afghanistan. He strengthened the security.
And props to him for that.
He strengthened the Homeland Security, building a new branch in the cabinet. And I think the way he handled 9/11 was better than a lot of other presidents would have been able to handle it. However, I think the argument that the Republican Party is fighting terrorism and Democrat Party is just letting terrorists into the country is just blatantly false.
Yeah, their argument can no longer be valid as Trump, while handling an actual insurrection and the threat to our democracy, let these rioters in, as we were saying earlier. They can no longer be trusted with the claim that they are working to undermine democracy. Sure, they may have, working to combat terrorism. Sure, they may have in the past, under their president, especially when everyone united together, but can't be valid
that argument's
anymore,
never been valid.
Especially with a lot of people like.
I don't believe that argument's ever been valid.
You could make an argument that the Republicans were doing something during 9/11, which they were.
But there were the Democrats, I believe, were not in the majority. They had there was a 50-50 Senate at the time. Sorry, 51-50 because Jeffords caucused with the Democrats. Democrats had the Senate, so they had control of all the major committees, and they made a lot of decisions. So yes, they worked in a bipartisan manner. Of course, I was not a lawmaker that was in charge of these committees, trying to sort out where our military is going to be out with, uh, um, disputing lies that the public is trying to put out on social media and other platforms. I'm not really familiar with what was out there in 2001, but things like this that they were in charge of disputing. And I think it was a bipartisan effort. Had 9/11 happened today, I do not believe that the parties would have been able to act together to create a bipartisan effort in combating terrorists. And I think that's.
I might have to
Do you think?
disagree with you on that, but I
Do you think
understand your point.
Republicans would have worked soundless with the Democrat Party to combat Osama bin Laden? Yes or no? Do you believe that?
Soundless was soundless is an overstatement, but I'm sure both sides would want their intentions made to combat and,
You would have
destroy
both of them
Osama
would
bin
want their
Laden.
intentions made, but no compromises would be made at this point. I think the parties are so far right, so far left. I don't think compromises
That's up for
would be made.
debate. That's up
I
for
think
debate.
yes, some legislation could be out, but to get major legislation that would actually do stuff to combat terrorism, I do not believe they would be able to pass that.
That is probably
Small
true.
stuff that
there'd probably be effort to get it done, but I'm not sure there'd be effort. I'm not sure there'd be effort.
Well, you have to
work
look at
with
what's
the other
happening
two,
with
which is what
January
I'm trying to
6th.
communicate.
You get these small things like awarding medals to the police officers that were there. Small things like that, yes, that does help to really gratify what the Capitol Police officers did on that day. However, major legislation like getting an investigation that should have happened months ago that the Senate just filibustered.
The difference is we knew Trump was responsible for this, for the January 6th insurrection, but no American was at fault for the 9/11 attacks.
The reason I say this is yes, you're right. No American is responsible, but the two parties would have so opposite directions of how to handle how they would handle
that
the
is very true.
in Afghanistan and other Middle Eastern countries, that they would not be able to compromise and put out solid legislation to be voted on the House, the Senate, and the President's desk. And I don't think much major legislation would be passed. The only thing that we could be doing is by executive order, I think, which doesn't help that much.
That's probably true.
But anyways, if you have someone that you know from 9/11, well, this is a sad day. It's the 20th anniversary. Yes, there has been some closure to 9/11 with Osama bin Laden being killed 10 years ago. However, we just lost Afghanistan to the Taliban, which hurts thousands of people that were in Afghanistan fighting, and also people that were in the Twin Towers, whether you were someone that was rescued or a firefighter there rescuing other people's, or you know people in the Twin Towers. And you've gone through all this, and now we've lost Afghanistan to the Taliban. Yes, it was only a matter of time, but it still hurts thousands of people, millions of people.
This is the end of the line of the effects for 9/11.
So anyways,
with the closure in Afghanistan, this is the end of the
episode. Thank you for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll see y'all then. Make sure to tune in then.